Yeah, I love the over here when you're looking at UConn. 1-11 in 2021 under Randy Edsall. Obviously, he got blown out that season. Jim Mora took over the program in 2022, ended up winning 6 games, taking them to a bowl game. Unfortunately, they didn't win that one. But last year was a really disappointing season for them. They went well under this win total, finished with 4 wins last season. There were high hopes for the Huskies coming into last year. But this year, I think the hype is a little better because when you look at them, they have a very good quarterback this season in Nick Evers, 4-star recruit. Transfer there from Oklahoma. They also have a really good backfield with Victor Rosa and Cam Edwards, 2 guys from Connecticut who can really run the football. And when you look at their offensive line, they have 2 guys who are on the East-West Shrine Bowl watch list. So I think the offense is going to be pretty good this season. The defense can hold together. They have a favorable schedule. Looking at it, they go power conference teams, Maryland, Duke, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. I'm not saying they beat any of those teams. It's going to be tough to beat those, but those aren't necessarily the Alabamas of the world, the Georgias of the world. And when you're looking at the games that are winnable for them, Merrimack, Buffalo, Temple, Rice, UAB, and UMass, if that's the case, they get to 6 wins and go over this line. And that's the hard part about this bet, right? How are they going to play under Kalen DeBoer? But when you look at their schedule, they need 10 games to secure themselves a spot in the college football playoff. They have just north of a 50% chance of getting in right now, but if this team was coached by Nick Saban, I think it would be even better because we know that the program is going to be stable. However, Kalen DeBoer, he retained a lot of guys. You have Jalen Milroe, who was one of the most improved players in the country last season. You look at what he did early in the year versus the end. It was a totally different quarterback, and he's going to continue to build on that success. And it seems like the relationship so far with DeBoer in the early days of training camp and throughout the summer have been very good for him. And when you look at their schedule, I think it's also favorable. Just like UConn, I know it's a little different when it comes to the level of play here, but the Tide have in relatively easy schedule when you look at how it's structured. So they start with Georgia in game 4 of the year. That one's at home. If I'm playing Georgia, I want to get them at home. And then when you look at their tough tests on the road, they have LSU and Tennessee, as well as Oklahoma. Those 3 games are away. However, when you're looking at them, they're probably going to be a dog in one of those games and favored in 2 of them. So if they go 2-2 in that tough 4-game stretch, I do think they find their way into the college football playoff. We also know there's Alabama bias out there. The committee's going to want them in, and I think this year they're going to get in under Kalen DeBoer. I think he's going to have a good rookie season. I'm not saying it's going to be tremendous, but when you're looking at his passing yards right now, the over of 2,850.5 seems like a pretty viable betting option. Now, this bet is going to be decided in training camp. If he beats out Jared Stidham, he should get to this number because if he plays in 17 games, he only has to throw for 168 yards a game to go over it. Now, the question is, if he doesn't win the starting job, then it gets a little dicier. However, if you do like the over, you got to bet it right now because this number is going to shoot up. When you look at Nick, he threw for 4,100 yards last season. They brought him in to throw the football, and Sean Payton has absolutely raved about him throughout the entire draft process into training camp. I think this is just way too low of a total if he's named the starting quarterback. And when I'm looking at his competition in Jared Stidham, it's not like they have that veteran starter guy who's got a lot of years under his belt and is going to, mold him into a starting quarterback. It's a guy that's similar age to Bo Nix. They have, relatively, Jared Stidham doesn't have a ton of experience in the NFL by any means, and he's backed up some good guys. But this is not a quarterback that's going to lead your franchise in the future. It's going to be Bo Nix, and that's why Broncos aren't going to be good with either of them. So put Bo Nix in and see what he can do. 100%. We don't know how quarterbacks are going to turn out. It's the toughest position to play in the NFL, and it's the toughest to predict their development. I mean, just looking at Brock Purdy, as you were saying, nobody expected that. And everyone's saying Caleb Williams is going to be the greatest quarterback in the world. Well, you can also make the argument that he's in the toughest situation. He has to come out and play well right away. And if he doesn't, there is going to be a media storm coming right after him. When you're looking at Jaden Daniels, a little different story there. Obviously, nobody expects much from the Commanders. But there's a lot of quarterbacks in this rookie class. It might not be the first-round pick. It might be the sixth-round quarterback that becomes the best in the class. You just never know what you're going to get. So I wouldn't buy into a top 2 guy like Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams too early and too heavily. Well, it's definitely a bet that's worth taking, in my opinion. You're getting this for 14-1 right now, and that's a really good number considering the quarterback that Xavier Worthy has. He has Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL, and he's the quarterback that's going to get him over this mark. Now, looking at the guys he's competing against for this award, I can find flaws with every system that they're in. Marvin Harrison Jr., the top odds guy here on the list, he has Kyler Murray throwing him the football. Murray's a top half quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. Malik Neighbors, he's been lighting it up in training camp. He has Daniel Jones, or Daniel Dones, as he has called him in the past. Lad McConkey plays for the Chargers. They love to run the football. Roma Dunze has a rookie quarterback. Keon Coleman, who probably I'm most afraid of taking this award from Xavier Worthy, has Josh Allen, who loves to run the football, should take some yardage away from him there. So I think it makes the most sense to go with the guy who has the best quarterback in the NFL on his side, and that is Xavier Worthy, who had one great college career. I think it's going to translate into a great NFL career as well.